Okay, let's see how quick I can do this one. Someone had asked me, they wanted to know if I could describe at least some. I can't do them all because some of them are a little too personal, or maybe just I just am not ready to mention them yet. But on the different hit attempts that were attempted on me. So this is going to be covering the very first one. This is the one that I remember first off, when I seriously knew that something was getting ready to go down. This is after they had stolen mine and my family's home, and I was just happened to be parked out in front of a particular. It was like one of those grocery stores that are in the strip malls, I guess you could say. And it seemed kind of like extra dead for some reason. I don't know why I thought that, but no pun intended, by the way. It seemed kind of extra dead. There was these, decent size square pillars out in the front of them there, and they would go all the way down the front of the store. Well, this is after. Well, it's not, let me just put it this way. It's one of the first times, okay? I can't really say the first because they could have been trying earlier than that and just didn't get the chance, or I made them out or whatever. But I knew from a pretty good while before that they were getting ready to do or try something. This is just the very first time that I officially knew that it was going to go down. I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to mention everything. So I can't mention all the details, people, but I will give you a few big bullet points. Again, no pun intended. They had already begun the swarming around me for the gang stalking. When gang stalking turns into swarming around you, pulling into the parking spaces right next to you, deliberately trying to scare you, they're all around you now, and all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parking spaces around you. One to the left and your right, one in the front, and diagonally to the left and right in the front. And they have you surrounded. Basically, they're all in their cars and all. It's at night, and they're all looking at you. They're going to try something. So this is after they had started that crap. Excuse my language. So what I would do sometimes is I would actually just get out of the car. I was like, look, you gonna do it? Just let's go. Just do it, So I just get out of the car, and sometimes I'd stand there right at the car outside, in the open, and sometimes I'd actually go in the store. Well, this was the very first night they were gonna try, and did actually end up. And the next night was that's number 2. I'll tell you about that next segment. But this is the first night, so that I knew of that they were going to do it. They had been, like I said, swarming from a few nights before at another place I was at before. But I had gotten out of the car of this particular vehicle that I was driving. I had gone into the store, and I noticed, I went in to go to use the restroom. I think when I came out, like I said, it was almost closing time for them, and by the time I walked out the door, they were shutting the door and locking it. So, they were. When I was getting ready to go walk back out to the vehicle when I noticed, like I said, it seemed a little extra dead, but there was this, let's just say a certain, I guess I can say dark colored vehicle that was circling around. And when I noticed that when they would go, they were just circling the parking lot. Big, wide edge to edge to edge to front of the store square or circle, whatever. But when they would come close to the vehicle I was driving, or, you know, traveling in or whatever, they seemed to slow down. So I was like, well, it seems kind of odd. And I was, you know, it's always these thoughts where you kind of discount it. You're like, you don't think, because, you know, nothing like that's ever happened to you before, right? So you don't think, nah, you know. And they circle again, go around again. And sure enough, they get there. And finally, the third time, and they would slow down and look at the vehicle. Well, they apparently didn't see me yet. So the next time they circled back around, they stopped right at the vehicle. We're looking all in there. That was the point when they went around that time. That just before, because they would go, let's say from me, they'll go left to right, circling the parking lot that way. So the third time they went around, when they went around this time, and yes, they had, well, when they went around that time, just before they got to my car, I saw inside the vehicle, and it was, I'm going to try not to use ethnic group names here, okay? But yes, they were of a particular ethnic group, and which ended up being rare because everything else was done by another type of ethnic group. But that was the first night and the first time I saw him. He had it a little too high that I saw his gun, and he looked like he was getting it ready and rolling through his chambers or something. But when they stopped at the car, that's when I'm like, okay. So the only thing you do at this point is, you know, call the 911 thing, do the 911 thing. Well, you know, surprisingly and ironically, and one night they actually intercepted the 911 call. The reason why I know that is because, well, long story short, later on I checked, and sure enough, it got as far as the station, but didn't go past that. So I waited for them to go around again, and they did. This time they saw me. And then what I did is I just acted normal. But remember those pillars I told you about? Well, you gotta, and of course I wasn't armed, you know. Well, I don't want to say what I carry now, but, you know, you gotta have some kind of defense. But no, you know, I'll go as far as saying, you know, I don't carry a gun on me, but that don't mean I ain't ready. Anyway, when they went around the next time, they saw me. So I just kept on acting like I was walking to the car, to the vehicle I was driving. And then when they got right up, I just told myself, well, this is it. You know, if it's going to be right up here at the storefront, you know, whatever, cool, you know. If not, I guess we'll see. So, but what I did is when they got right up on me, so as soon as they came, you know, out from behind this next pillar that was coming up on me as I was walking, it was to my left, it was on their right. In other words, I kind of did a immediate halt at the pillar, then went backwards as the car went by and ducked behind it. And that's when I got their license plate number. So immediately I went somewhere and I called that in. And as soon as I did that, it didn't take, because then you could see him pick up his phone, his cell phone. And I saw those everywhere I went. Everybody's ear was glued to their cell phones. And that's how you can tell. I mean, a certain something. But anyway, so as soon as that happened, they got the hell out of there. And, I had to deal with the police when they showed up. But here's an interesting fact for you. And again, this is like I said, it probably wasn't the first night they tried it, but based on what I went through the nights before that, and I'll cover that maybe at the end here, as an in general, how they, let's just say, gang stalked me or whatever every night. But, this always happened like, 12, 1, 2, 3 in the morning. Sometimes it came in waves and I'd have to defend against each wave. I mean, it was ridiculous. And, I hear people nowadays who get mad because you guys just drove by, you didn't do nothing, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, try having the police participate in it. Yeah, that'll get you singing a little different tune anyway. Well, anyway, when they finally did show up, he said, why don't you talk to me? Tell me, what you got? He didn't seem concerned at all. He didn't seem, and I saw this guy again. He didn't seem like hurry so I can see if we can maybe get a make on this guy or whatever, In fact, I had mentioned, I got the license number. Did you get the license number? I called that in to 911. I called that in. And then he started talking about something else. And I mentioned it again, and he kept talking. And then I'm thinking, you know what, surely to God, he's not trying to, I kind of call it a force overlap, like, one of your people's favorites that they follow today. Anyway. So I said, surely God, he's not trying to force overlap this thing, FOL, fool, So I said, look, I got this guy's license plate. Did you get it from 911 or shall I give it to you now? Because I had it memorized, man. I wanted them to freaking tear out of there. And nope, none of that. He's like, I think they got it. And I think they got it. I'm like, well, you think? I mean, they did, yes, no? He was not concerned the least little bit. It seemed like he was after something else. But he just basically said, okay, well, yeah, why don't you go ahead and give it to me? Now, this was the same reaction toward when I had called in one of the prior swarming attacks that took place on me. They weren't concerned with license plates or anything. I said, because there were so many, I had to write them all down. That guy that day, I said, look, do you not want any of these license plates at all? Because I got just about all of them, He's like, all right, well, just give me one. In other words, he's been in a prior instruction. He's been told, keep your, I would go so as far to say damning evidence to try to keep it to a minimum, and I think we'll be okay. Something like that. I mean, that's just in your heart, and because he was avoiding it. Police that work a case, they want all the information they can get, do they not? Especially if it's going to lead them to catching the culprit. But no, they didn't want to know anything damning. He said, okay, well, just give me one. So I gave him the one, and at that point, I just let it go because I knew already what he was doing, and I already knew I was on my own. Because what followed the next night, and I'll do this in the second one. Can you spell participate? All right, so that was the first one. That's the first one that I knew, and if I hadn't called, I probably wouldn't be here talking to you now. Take care, everybody. I love each and every one of you. I'll talk to you soon.